The alien princess teased his armor. What he revealed silenced the room. HFY. Light bent and twisted through crystalline panels, casting prismatic patterns across the polished floor. Delegates from countless star systems had gathered here, their forms as diverse as the planets they hailed from. Some walked on four legs, others floated with a faint glow, and a few were even partially translucent. But among all the beings present, one human figure drew immediate attention. Captain Elias Ward stepped onto the chamber floor, his combat exosuit reflecting the alien lights. It was a marvel of human engineering, a blend of reinforced alloys and adaptive energy shields. The armor made him appear larger than life, his presence almost commanding. Yet it was clear to the onlookers that he relied not just on the suit, but on something more subtle: discipline, intelligence, and an unyielding calm. The murmurs started almost instantly. "The human wears his armor everywhere," said one insectoid delegate, antennae twitching in curiosity. "Weak creatures, relying so heavily on machines." Lysera, the alien princess of Thalora, floated a few steps above the chamber floor, her translucent wings fanning gently behind her. Her skin shimmered with a delicate gradient, shifting from silver at her shoulders to a soft violet near her hands. She had the kind of presence that drew all eyes, and she used it with precision. Smiling in a way that suggested both amusement and superiority, she addressed the human directly. "Is that what humans call strength?" she asked, her voice musical yet edged with mockery. "A suit that makes you appear taller, broader, stronger, but without it would you even stand at all?" Elias didn't flinch. His calm, measured gaze met hers without a trace of irritation. The room hushed, sensing the tension between the two leaders. Many of the alien delegates leaned forward, intrigued by the unfolding drama. Some whispered to each other in languages that sounded like wind through metal pipes or like soft chimes in water. "Captain Ward," Lysera continued, her tone teasing but with a hint of challenge, "do your people always hide behind machines? Or is this exceptional?" He responded slowly, deliberately, his voice steady and clear. "The armor is a tool, it protects the body. But the body itself, the mind, the will, the discipline, is what truly matters. Humans are not defined by what we wear. We are defined by how we endure, how we think, and how we act." A ripple of surprise passed through the room. The aliens had expected a defensive answer, perhaps even a stammer under scrutiny. Instead, Elias spoke with quiet authority. Lysera's eyes narrowed slightly, intrigued by the calm confidence. "Endurance and will," she repeated softly, almost to herself. "We have creatures here who can endure planets with gravity 10 times stronger than this chamber, survive in vacuum, and manipulate energy with mere thought. Do you claim that humans match that?" Elias' lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "We do not claim, we demonstrate. And we endure in ways different from what you may expect." Lysera's wings fluttered impatiently, a subtle sign of her growing curiosity. She had expected an easy target for her teasing, someone to highlight the weaknesses of humans. Yet here was a man who stood calm, unshaken, who seemed aware of the ridicule yet unbothered. "Very well," she said finally. "Let us see if your words carry weight. Show us, human. Remove the armor. Let us see if you are as strong as you claim." A wave of gasps swept across the room. To many alien species, it was unthinkable to remove personal defense in the presence of so many potential threats. Elias, however, did not hesitate. Slowly, deliberately, he began the process of powering down his exosuit. Hydraulic servos whined softly, energy shields dimmed, and plates of alloy slid apart to reveal the human beneath. His body was lean, muscular, and undeniably fit, shaped by years of training, exposure to harsh environments, and unrelenting discipline. Unlike some alien species whose bodies had evolved to survive extreme conditions, humans relied on adaptability, endurance, and sheer determination. Every muscle in his arms, shoulders, and chest spoke of strength honed through effort, not natural evolution. The chamber fell silent. Whispers faded into stunned silence as the delegates took in the unexpected sight. Elias did not rush. He let the room absorb what they were seeing. The mocking smirk on Lysera's face faltered, replaced by something approaching admiration. "You do not need the armor to intimidate," she said carefully, almost a whisper. Her wings paused mid-flutter, and her eyes, which had been full of challenge, now held curiosity and a spark of respect. Elia's voice broke the silence. "The armor protects, yes. But strength is not in the metal we wear. It is in the body we build, the mind we sharpen, and the courage we cultivate. Humans do not rely solely on tools. We rely on ourselves." The room remained silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Delegates who had come to witness the supposed weakness of humans now found themselves reconsidering their assumptions. Some took notes, others exchanged looks of surprise, and a few even whispered their approval in low tones. Lysera's expression shifted subtly. The teasing light in her eyes was tempered by intrigue. "You speak boldly, human. Most species would bow under scrutiny, yet you stand tall, without armor, without the advantages of your machine." Elias nodded slightly, acknowledging her words. "Confidence is earned, princess. Through experience, through challenges faced, through the willingness to endure what others cannot." For the next several minutes, the two stood in the chamber, the tension palpable yet charged with mutual understanding. Delegates watched closely, realizing that this was not just a display of physical prowess but a test of character. Humans, they were beginning to see, possessed something that could not be measured merely by strength, speed, or technological advantage. Lysera, though still cautious, allowed a small smile to return. "Perhaps I have underestimated your kind," she admitted. "Tell me, human, what other surprises do you hide behind that calm exterior?" Elia's eyes glimmered with a quiet certainty. "Surprises are best revealed when necessary. Patience and preparation are strengths themselves." Whispers rippled through the room again, but this time they were not of ridicule, they were of astonishment. Humans, thought by many to be fragile and overly dependent on machines, were revealing an inner strength that few had expected. The chamber, once buzzing with chatter and doubt, now felt charged with a new energy. Eyes that had sneered now watched with respect. Aliens who had mocked now considered. And in the center of it all stood Captain Elias Ward, a man whose calm confidence and resilience had begun to rewrite the perceptions of an entire interstellar assembly. As the exosuit fully powered down, leaving him completely unarmored, Elias took a slow breath and straightened his shoulders. Every movement was deliberate, controlled, yet relaxed. It was clear that he was not just a soldier in a suit but a master of his own body and mind. Lysera's gaze lingered, no longer teasing but assessing. She had expected to ridicule to see weakness. Instead, she had witnessed quiet power, discipline, and courage. For the first time in this summit, she found herself genuinely curious about the humans, their capabilities, and what they could offer beyond what armor and machines could provide. The moment hung in the air, charged with anticipation. This was only the beginning, and already the room had begun to shift. Aliens who had doubted were reconsidering. Humans underestimated and mocked were beginning to earn a reputation not through displays of firepower or technology, but through resilience, courage, and unshakable confidence. Elias finally spoke, his voice carrying easily across the chamber. "Strength is not always visible. It is measured not by the armor we wear, but by the choices we make, the challenges we overcome, and the courage to stand even when all odds seem against us." The words, simple yet profound, echoed through the grand hall. Eyes widened, whispers ceased, and even Lysera seemed momentarily at a loss for a response. The human had not just removed his armor, he had revealed something far more significant, the essence of what made humans formidable. And in that silence, The first seeds of respect, curiosity, and a new understanding were planted. The chamber remained quiet after Captain Elias Ward's reveal. Eyes that had once doubted humans now regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Delegates whispered among themselves, questioning their assumptions. If one human could demonstrate such calm and strength without armor, what else could the species achieve? Princess Lysera floated slightly higher, wings flickering gently, her gaze fixed on Elias. There was a new intensity in her eyes, one that combined intrigue with a hint of challenge. She had been raised among beings who prized raw power, speed, and natural ability. Yet here was a human who relied on something different, a combination of discipline, endurance, and strategic thinking. It was unfamiliar, and that made it fascinating. "You have shown us your body," Lysera said, her voice no longer mocking but cautious. "You have shown strength, but strength alone does not impress my people. Skill and precision matter. Let us see how you move, human. Let us see if you can match what our species can do in agility, speed, and strategy." Elias nodded slowly. His expression was calm, his posture relaxed. "I am ready, Princess. I have always believed that skill is measured by action, not by words. Let your challenge begin." The princess gestured, and a section of the chamber transformed. The crystalline walls shimmered and reshaped themselves into a simulation arena. Gravity adjusted slightly, light shifted, and holographic obstacles appeared, floating platforms, moving barriers, and narrow paths that required precision and timing. Energy projections mimicked alien weapon systems, testing reflexes, coordination, and problem-solving. The arena was designed to test anyone's limits, and it had never been attempted by a human before. The assembled delegates murmured in disbelief. They had seen champions of their species tackle the arena and fail. Few beings could master its challenges without advanced enhancements. Yet here was Elias, standing calmly at the edge, fully aware of the test he was about to face. "Proceed, human," Lysera commanded. Elias moved forward with deliberate, measured steps. Each movement was confident, precise. As he navigated the shifting platforms, he used his understanding of balance and momentum to maintain control. Every leap, every landing was calculated. His movements were not flashy or exaggerated. They were efficient, effective, and remarkably smooth. Energy blasts surged from hidden projectors, simulating attacks from alien weapons. Elias dodged, twisted, and rolled with instinctive timing, anticipating the path of each strike. Delegates gasped as he moved, their preconceived notions about human fragility being challenged with every motion. Some had expected hesitation, fear, or mistakes. Instead, they saw a being who combined intelligence with physical skill in a way that many of them had never encountered. Lysera watched intently, her curiosity growing with each passing moment. She had designed the arena to test not just reflexes but adaptability. Aliens had evolved for very specific environments and challenges, but humans were different. They had to adapt constantly to survive. That adaptability was on full display now. The arena shifted again, creating a series of moving platforms over a simulated chasm. Aliens who relied on wings or telekinesis could navigate easily, but it was a challenge for those dependent on raw balance and agility. Elias paused for a heartbeat, assessing the motion and timing. Then, with a controlled leap, he moved across the first platform, landing perfectly on the next. He did not rush, but neither did he hesitate. Each step was confident, showing both physical ability and strategic thinking. Delegates whispered excitedly, "Look at him. He moves with precision we did not expect," said one amphibious representative, tentacles flicking with fascination. "He adapts faster than some of our champions could." Lysera's eyes narrowed, not in anger but in challenge. "Impressive," she said softly. "But the test is not over. Humans can endure, humans can think, but can they perform under pressure? Can they solve problems as they arise without hesitation?" Elias responded with no words. His focus was absolute, his awareness heightened. The arena shifted again, this time introducing sudden obstacles, floating energy walls, platforms that vanished temporarily, and simulated environmental hazards designed to test both reflex and intellect. Aliens had trained for years to master these conditions, yet Elias approached each challenge with calm analysis, moving instinctively but thoughtfully. When a platform disappeared beneath him, he did not panic. He adjusted his trajectory, leaping to the nearest stable surface. When an energy wall surged forward, he timed his movement, ducking and rolling just as the wall passed. Observers were captivated. The human's performance was a blend of art and science, showing not just physical capability but an extraordinary understanding of timing, risk, and adaptability. Some delegates began recording notes. They had underestimated the humans, assuming fragility and reliance on machines. Now, their assumptions were crumbling. The whispers turned into discussions about human potential, and some even questioned whether their species had evaluated humans fairly in the past. Lysera, though still competitive, allowed a small smile to cross her face. "You move with a confidence I did not expect human, but endurance is also tested by problem-solving, by intellect. Let us see if your mind is as agile as your body." At her signal, a complex puzzle appeared in the center of the arena, a holographic maze of energy barriers and moving paths. It was designed to challenge logic, foresight, and adaptability. Many of the alien delegates had failed at solving it under the arena's pressure. Elias paused for a brief moment, scanning the maze, observing patterns in the shifting energy flows. Then he began to move. Each step was deliberate, not just physically but mentally. He anticipated the movements of the energy barriers, calculated the timing of each jump, and made decisions that allowed him to navigate the maze efficiently. His strategy was simple but effective: patience, observation, and adaptation. Where some relied on raw speed or instinct alone, he combined intellect with movement, thinking several steps ahead. Delegates watched, eyes wide with amazement. The human was not just surviving the arena, he was mastering it. Some muttered in disbelief. "He sees the patterns," said one crystalline delegate. "He anticipates before the maze even shifts." "How is this possible?" Lysera's expression softened slightly. The challenge she had expected to be a demonstration of human weakness had instead become a revelation of unexpected skill. She floated closer, observing Elias with newfound respect. There was no arrogance in his movements, no desire to show off. Every action was precise, deliberate, and confident. The final section of the arena combined multiple elements at once: moving platforms, energy blasts, disappearing paths, and logic puzzles. Many species struggled when multiple challenges overlapped. Humans, with their capacity to adapt to unpredictable environments, often excelled in situations where others relied on static ability. Elias moved through the complex section with calm determination, solving each puzzle and navigating each hazard with skill and foresight. The room erupted in astonishment when he completed the arena flawlessly. Delegates who had come expecting ridicule now cheered quietly, recognizing human ability in a way they had never before. Some had begun to rethink their assumptions entirely. Humans, they realized, were a species defined not by natural evolutionary gifts, but by resilience, adaptability, and intellect, the very traits that allowed them to succeed in unpredictable situations. Lysera floated down closer to Elias, her wings fluttering softly. "I admit it," she said, voice steady but tinged with admiration. "You have exceeded my expectations. Not only do humans endure and adapt, but you also think and act with precision under pressure. I underestimated your species. That is no small admission." Elias nodded, his calm demeanor unchanged. "Respect is earned through action and understanding, Princess. Humans do not claim superiority. We demonstrate it through our choices and our courage. The chamber, once filled with whispers of doubt and ridicule, now hummed with conversation about human potential. Delegates discussed the adaptability of humans, their endurance, and their ability to combine intellect with skill. The narrative had shifted. Humans were no longer seen as fragile or over-reliant on technology. They were seen as capable, adaptable, and worthy of respect. Lysera's eyes studied Elias carefully. She had challenged him to test strength, skill, and intellect, expecting to highlight weakness. Instead, she had witnessed a performance that was extraordinary by any standard, human or alien. She realized that humans brought a unique quality to the interstellar table, the ability to thrive in unpredictable environments, to adapt under pressure, and to combine thought and action in a way few other species could. "You have my respect, Captain Ward," she said finally. "Perhaps there is more to your people than I and many others have believed. You have shown skill, endurance, and courage. These qualities, they are not common, even among the most advanced species." Elias bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement. "Thank you, Princess. Respect is mutual. I am here not just to demonstrate human ability, but to understand and cooperate with other species. Strength without understanding is meaningless." The delegates nodded, murmurs of approval spreading through the chamber. The day had begun with ridicule and doubt, but it ended with recognition and admiration. Humans, underestimated and mocked, had proven themselves through skill, intelligence, and courage. Lysera allowed a small, genuine smile to form on her lips. The teasing light was gone, replaced by thoughtful curiosity. She had expected a display of human weakness, and instead she had witnessed extraordinary capability. Her view of humans, and perhaps her understanding of strength itself, had changed forever. Elias stepped back from the arena, his expression calm but satisfied. He had not sought applause or recognition. His goal had been simple: to show that humans, when challenged, could rise to meet any obstacle through skill, resilience, and intelligence. As the chamber slowly returned to normal, the delegates resumed their discussions, but the conversation had changed. Humans were no longer a species to be dismissed. They were one to be studied, respected, and perhaps even admired. Elias' quiet confidence had spoken louder than any words. In a single demonstration, he had challenged assumptions, broken stereotypes, and revealed the true nature of human potential. The seeds of respect and curiosity had been planted, and there was no doubt that this summit, and perhaps the galaxy itself, would never view humans in the same way again. The summit's chamber had quieted after Captain Elias Ward's remarkable performance in the arena. Delegates were still whispering, exchanging glances, and debating what they had just witnessed. It was clear that humans were no longer regarded as a fragile species dependent solely on technology. Yet even as admiration grew, a test far greater than any arena simulation was approaching. A sudden alert echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed along the crystalline walls, and the ground trembled faintly beneath the delegates' feet. Lysera's eyes narrowed as she raised her hands, silencing the murmurs. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a nearby asteroid belt. Sensors indicated that a massive meteor storm was on a collision course with Zoria itself. "This is no simulation," Lysera said, her voice calm but serious. "The storm will reach the planet within hours. Our shields may hold, but only if managed perfectly. If we fail, the summit, and potentially all our species present, could face disaster." Delegates immediately began scrambling, attempting to coordinate defenses, recalibrating planetary shields, and analyzing meteor trajectories. Panic rippled through some species, especially those who had relied on naturally evolved protective abilities rather than complex technology. Yet, amidst the chaos, Elias remained calm. He scanned the displays, his mind processing the data faster than anyone else. Lysera floated closer. "Captain Ward, can your people help? You have shown skill and endurance, but this requires strategy under extreme pressure. Are humans capable of more than individual feats? Elias nodded. We are. Humans excel under unpredictable conditions. We analyze, adapt, and act decisively. Let me assist in coordinating the defense. Without hesitation, he stepped to the central control panel. The alien delegates had their own systems, each designed differently, requiring extensive knowledge to operate. Elias quickly began understanding the various interfaces, recognizing patterns, and integrating them into a unified strategy. His approach was methodical. First, identify the immediate threats, then determine which defenses could be activated most effectively, and finally coordinate the delegates to act in harmony. Aliens who had previously dismissed humans watched in astonishment as Elias' actions began to stabilize the situation. With calm authority, he issued clear instructions, pointing out which shields to raise, how to distribute energy across the planetary barriers, and where to focus defensive weapons. The delegates followed his guidance, and slowly, the trembling in the chamber lessened. Lysera observed him closely. She had seen him demonstrate skill in the arena, but this was different. This was leadership under pressure, the ability to think quickly, organize a diverse group, and act decisively. Few leaders in the galaxy could manage multiple species with varying abilities and systems at once. Yet Elias did so with clarity and composure. One alien delegate, a large quadruped with armored plating, turned to Lysera, whispering, "He is remarkable. Not only does he perform feats individually, but he coordinates us as if we were all extensions of his own mind." Another, a being of light and energy, added, "His calm is contagious. We respond more efficiently because he is steady." Humans, they are unlike any species I have encountered. The meteor storm approached faster than the delegates anticipated. Multiple large fragments threatened the planetary shields, each requiring precise timing and focus to neutralize. Elias continued issuing commands, recalibrating energy flows and predicting the meteor paths. Each calculation had to be exact, or the shields would fail. Despite the urgency, Elias remained composed. He communicated with clarity, guiding the alien teams to act with precision and efficiency. Delegates who had initially doubted him found themselves relying on his decisions, following his lead without hesitation. Lysera could not hide her growing respect. She had challenged humans in a controlled arena, expecting perhaps courage and skill, but now she witnessed the ability to lead, inspire, and strategize under extreme conditions. She realized that humans were not just resilient, they were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of rising to challenges that others might crumble under. As the first meteor fragment approached the planetary shields, a sudden miscalculation occurred. One of the alien operators triggered the wrong energy sequence, and a large fragment breached the outer shield, heading toward the summit chamber itself. Gasps filled the room, panic rising once more. Delegates froze, unsure how to respond. Elias acted instantly. He assessed the trajectory, calculated the necessary countermeasures, and coordinated a rapid sequence of shield adjustments and energy redirection. With precise timing, the fragment was deflected harmlessly into space. The room erupted in astonished murmurs. Delegates who had doubted his abilities now stared at him in awe. Lysera's wings fluttered with intensity as she spoke, her tone a mixture of challenge and admiration. "Captain Ward, your people's reputation precedes them, but I admit, I underestimated the full scope of human capability. You are more than strong, more than skilled. You are capable of leadership and decisive action under pressure." Elias' calm eyes met hers. Leadership is not about showing strength alone. It is about understanding, coordinating, and acting with courage when it matters most. Humans survive not because we are the strongest physically, but because we can think, adapt, and act together. The meteor storm continued, But under Elia's guidance, the delegates worked in harmony. Each fragment that approached the planet was neutralized efficiently. Shields shifted, energy was redistributed, and the combined effort of multiple species, led by human intelligence, prevented any disaster. By the time the last meteor fragment passed safely into space, the chamber was filled with a sense of relief and admiration. Delegates who had doubted humans now approached Elias with questions, seeking insight into his thought process, his strategies, and the principles that allowed him to act so effectively under pressure. Lysera floated closer, her expression thoughtful. "You have done more than impress us, Captain Ward. You have saved this summit, and perhaps prevented a catastrophe for all our species. Humans are often underestimated, yet you have demonstrated strategy, composure, and courage that few others could match." Elias inclined his head humbly. "We did not act alone. Every species contributed their abilities. Humans merely helped coordinate. But I appreciate your words, Princess. It is our nature to adapt and endure, and sometimes that means guiding others toward a solution." The delegates began to discuss long-term implications. Humans had not only proven their skill in controlled environments, like the arena, but they had now demonstrated real-world effectiveness under high-pressure conditions. Many species began reconsidering alliances, trade, and future cooperation with humans, recognizing that their resilience and strategic thinking were assets on a galactic scale. Lysera's perspective had shifted dramatically. The teasing she had once felt toward human reliance on technology had been replaced by respect and genuine curiosity. Humans were not merely a species that depended on machines. They were thinkers, adapters, and problem solvers. Strength came not just from armor or weapons, but from the mind and the ability to lead. As the summit chamber settled into a calmer rhythm, Elias stepped away from the control panels, his movements still composed, still confident. He had acted decisively, demonstrating human capability without arrogance. He did not seek applause, he sought results, and the results were undeniable: survival, cooperation, and newfound respect for a species once underestimated. The delegates now approached him, asking questions, sharing insights, and even seeking guidance. For many of them, the day had changed everything they thought they knew about humans. What had begun as curiosity and ridicule had evolved into admiration, understanding, and an appreciation of human resilience and intelligence. Lysera observed quietly, her eyes lingering on Elias. She had expected a simple display of strength, perhaps even a stumble that would validate her assumptions. Instead, she had witnessed a full demonstration of what humans could accomplish when calm, focused, and decisive. The lessons were clear. Humans were adaptable, strategic, and courageous, not in spite of their weaknesses, but because they could rise above challenges others might find overwhelming. "Captain Ward," Lysera said finally, her voice carrying across the chamber, "you have proven far more than skill in combat or endurance. You have shown us the essence of human capability, the ability to think, adapt, and lead when circumstances demand it. You have earned respect, not just for yourself, but for your people." Elias inclined his head in acknowledgement, a faint smile crossing his face. "Thank you, Princess. Humans strive not to dominate, but to endure, to adapt, and to work with others toward solutions. We are at our strongest when we combine our abilities with courage, intelligence, and cooperation." The chamber buzzed with renewed energy. Delegates who had doubted were now seeking knowledge. Aliens who had mocked humans were now reassessing their prejudices. The narrative had shifted again. Humans were no longer seen as fragile, reliant, or weak. They were a species capable of leading, solving complex problems, and thriving under pressure. Lysera's gaze lingered on Elias, the teasing smirk from before gone entirely. In its place was a quiet acknowledgement. Humans were extraordinary, not because of machines or natural gifts, but because of their mind, resilience, and courage. Elias stepped back, letting the delegates continue their work. The meteor storm had passed, the crisis averted, but the impression left on every witness was permanent. Humans had not only survived a challenge, they had changed perceptions, rewritten assumptions, and earned respect on a galactic scale. The day that had begun with mockery and doubt ended with admiration and understanding. Captain Elias Ward had shown that humans were more than their armor, more than their technology. They were adaptable, intelligent, and courageous. And in a galaxy where so many species measured strength differently, humans had proven that true power was measured not just by what one could do alone, but by how one could inspire, coordinate, and lead others through the impossible. The summit continued, but the focus had shifted. Humans were no longer a curiosity or a target of mockery. They were a force to be respected, a species capable of contributing in ways that few others could match. And as the delegates left the chamber for discussions, trade talks, and alliances, all eyes carried a new recognition. Humans were extraordinary, not in the machines they wielded, but in the minds, bodies, and courage they possessed. Elias remained standing in the center, calm, composed, and unwavering. His demonstration had been complete. Not only had he survived the arena, not only had he impressed with physical skill, but he had led through crisis, solving problems with intelligence and composure. Every species present had witnessed it, and none could doubt it. Lysera finally nodded, a subtle but unmistakable gesture of respect. "Humans," she said softly, "you are more remarkable than I or anyone here could have imagined. Remember this day. Remember what you are capable of." Elias met her gaze and responded simply, "We will, Princess, and we will continue to rise to meet challenges, no matter how great." For the first time in the history of the summit, humans were not observers. They were leaders, thinkers, and examples of what courage, intelligence, and resilience could achieve, and the galaxy would remember it. The chamber was quieter than it had ever been during the summit. Captain Elias Ward stood near the center, surveying the room. Delegates from countless species were no longer skeptical of humans. Their whispers of doubt had turned into conversations of respect and curiosity. Some delegates, who had previously laughed at the human's armor or mocked his supposed fragility, now approached him with questions, seeking insight into the nature of human endurance, thought, and courage. Princess Lysera hovered closer, her wings glinting softly in the ambient light. She had watched Elias through the trials of the arena and the meteor storm, and now she understood why humans were different from anything she had encountered before. Unlike many species, whose abilities were tied to evolution, biology, or technology alone, humans had a combination of qualities that could not be predicted: adaptability, intelligence, courage, and the ability to inspire others. "You have impressed more than just me, Captain Ward," Lysera said, her voice steady but thoughtful. "Your people, they are underestimated across the galaxy. I admit, I have been guilty of this myself. You have shown skill, endurance, and leadership that few could match. But there is still one question that remains. Can humans maintain this not just in isolated events but over the long term? Can you earn trust and respect in a galaxy that doubts you?" Elias' expression remained calm, confident yet humble. "Trust is earned through consistent action, Princess. Respect is earned through understanding, cooperation, and courage. Humans are capable of rising to challenges, adapting to new situations, and working together with others. We do not seek admiration, we seek to prove our worth through deeds." Lysera nodded, a subtle smile forming. "Then let us see how humans operate in the real interstellar arena, beyond controlled challenges and crises. Let us see how you lead when cooperation, negotiation, and diplomacy are required alongside strength." A soft chime rang through the chamber, indicating that the next segment of the summit would begin. It was a complex negotiation between multiple species over trade routes, resource allocation, and planetary defense agreements. Aliens were gathered in groups, discussing terms in languages humans could barely interpret. Yet Elias walked among them, observing, listening, and quietly analyzing the dynamics at play. The negotiations were tense. Many species wanted to dominate or gain advantage, and disputes threatened to escalate. Temperatures of various delegates, both literal and metaphorical, were rising. Yet Elias remained calm. He understood that the key to success was not domination, but careful observation, clear communication, and the ability to bridge differences. He began speaking with smaller groups first, asking questions, listening attentively, and finding common ground. Delegates who had initially underestimated humans were surprised by his insight. Unlike some species who relied on intimidation or technical superiority, Elias spoke with reason, logic, and empathy. He highlighted shared goals, emphasized mutual benefits, and gently guided discussions toward compromise. Princess Lysera observed the process closely. She had expected the human to perform well in physical challenges, and he had exceeded those expectations. But she had not anticipated the subtle power of diplomacy combined with human perception and reasoning. In each interaction, Elias demonstrated not just skill, but wisdom, the kind that could unite even those who were divided by distrust or rivalry. A dispute erupted over the allocation of a strategic mining system on a nearby asteroid. One species demanded exclusive rights, while another insisted on shared access. Voices rose, claws flared, and energy emissions from nervous delegates began to pulse. Without hesitation, Elias stepped forward. He addressed both parties calmly but firmly. Exclusivity may seem advantageous, but cooperation ensures survival. Both of your species gain more if we find a solution that benefits everyone. I suggest a shared schedule with clearly defined responsibilities, monitored by an impartial council representing all interested species. The delegates paused, considering his words. The calm and reason in his voice had a disarming effect. Neither side wanted to appear unreasonable before the others, and the human's proposal offered a practical compromise. Slowly, tension eased and agreements began to form. Elias facilitated each step, ensuring all voices were heard and respected. Lysera's wings fluttered softly. She had underestimated the depth of human ability. Humans were more than physical performers. They were thinkers, negotiators, and problem solvers capable of navigating situations where instinct alone was not enough. As the negotiations progressed, Elias continued to work tirelessly. He moved from group to group, mediating disputes, clarifying intentions, and encouraging collaboration. His calm demeanor inspired trust, and his intelligence fostered respect. Species that had once considered humans weak or overly reliant on machines now began to see them as capable partners, worthy of alliance and cooperation. One particularly challenging negotiation involved a species that communicated through vibrations and pulses of energy, whose concepts of fairness differed drastically from those of the other delegates. Many had tried to reason with them and failed. Elias approached patiently, observing their patterns, adjusting his own communication style, and presenting ideas in a way the species could understand. After several tense minutes, the delegates of that species agreed to a framework that satisfied their concerns while also respecting the needs of others. Whispers spread among the gathered delegates. "Humans," said one crystalline being, "they are clever. Not just strong or enduring, but clever in ways we did not expect." "Look at how he handles disputes," said another. "He listens, adapts, and convinces without force. This is remarkable." Even Lysera felt a sense of pride mixed with surprise. She had begun the day expecting to tease and perhaps expose weakness. Instead, she had observed not only strength and skill, but intelligence, adaptability, and leadership in action. Elias had become a symbol, not of dominance, but of human potential, of what humans could achieve when their mind, body, and courage worked together. Hours passed, and the summit negotiations continued. By the end of the day, agreements had been reached on trade, resource allocation, and joint defense measures. What had started as a potentially contentious gathering had been transformed into a forum of collaboration, largely due to the quiet guidance and insight of a single human. Delegates who had arrived expecting conflict now left with a new respect for humans. Lysera approached Elias once more. Her expression was serious but admiring. "Captain Ward, you have done more than any of us expected. Your people's reputation has changed today. You have proven skill, endurance, leadership, and diplomacy. Humans are no longer underestimated. You have earned the respect not only of me but of every species present." Elias shook his head slightly, modestly. "Respect is not given, Princess. It is earned through action, through consistency, and through cooperation. I am grateful that my actions have demonstrated what humans are capable of, but it is only the beginning. There is much to learn from others just as they can learn from us." Lysera's eyes softened. She had witnessed the entire process, the arena, the meteor storm, the negotiations, and she realized that humans' greatest strength was not a single quality but the combination of many: resilience, intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Unlike many species, humans could endure, learn, and act in ways that allowed them to rise above challenges no matter the circumstances. The other delegates now gathered around, many offering greetings, handshakes, or equivalents in their own species' ways. Some asked questions about human technology, others about training, and still others about philosophy and approach to challenges. Humans had become a topic of fascination and admiration. What had begun as curiosity and mockery had turned into deep respect. Lysera spoke once more, addressing both Elias and the gathered delegates. "Today, we have witnessed the true potential of humans. They are not defined by their armor, by machines, or by natural gifts alone. They are defined by their ability to endure, adapt, and act with intelligence and courage. Let this be remembered, not as an anomaly, but as a lesson in what humans, and perhaps any species willing to combine mind, body, and heart, can achieve." Elias nodded, understanding the weight of her words. It is not enough to be strong, to be clever, or to survive. True value comes from using our abilities responsibly, to help others, to solve problems, and to build trust. Humans strive to do this every day, and we will continue to rise to meet challenges, however great they may be. The delegates left the chamber one by one, carrying stories of human skill, leadership, and courage back to their home worlds. The impression left by Elias was permanent. Humans would no longer be underestimated, dismissed, or mocked. Across species, respect had been earned not through force alone, but through action, intelligence, and composure. Lysera floated back toward Elias, her wings folding softly. "You have changed perceptions today, Captain Ward, not through arrogance or showmanship, but through action and integrity. Humans are now recognized as a species capable of extraordinary achievement." Elias met her gaze with calm confidence. "Recognition is earned, Princess. It comes from deeds, not words. I am grateful that my actions have helped others see what humans can accomplish, but it is only the start. There is still much to prove and much to learn." The summit concluded, but the effects of the day would last for decades. Humans had emerged not as mere participants, but as leaders, problem solvers, and examples of resilience and ingenuity. Across the galaxy, stories would spread of the human who removed his armor, who faced the arena, who navigated a meteor storm, and who led multiple species through complex negotiations, all without arrogance, only calm confidence, skill, and intelligence. Elias stepped out of the chamber, the lights of Zoria reflecting off his calm expression. He had done what few expected, proving that humans were not defined by weakness, machines, or simple brute force. They were defined by courage, adaptability, intelligence, and the ability to rise to any challenge. And as he looked at the stars beyond the chamber, Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Humans would continue to prove themselves across the galaxy, not just in strength, skill, or technology, but in mind, body, and spirit. The galaxy had underestimated them once, but never again. The summit had ended, but a new era had begun. An era where humans were recognized, respected, and admired for their unique abilities, their courage, and their potential. And at the center of it all stood Captain Elias Ward, the human who had shown that true power was not just in machines or gifts, but in the will to act, the mind to adapt, and the courage to rise above any challenge. The alien princess teased his armor. What he revealed silenced the room. HFY